Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Paula Cunningham, the State Director for AARP Michigan. I am so happy that you joined us for this important conversation. This is the third in a series of what we call My Sisters, MI Sisters, with friends, my sisters and friends, not just sisters, but gentlemen, we welcome you as well. And we're having a dialogue, we're having a conversation about issues that are important for all of us, but particularly for women as we enter into the 2024 election cycle. There's so many issues that are out there. And so we want to make certain that we elevate the voices of the people who perhaps don't get an opportunity many times to be heard. And so we have three or two very distinguished members of Congress with us today, and we will get to them in just one moment. But before we do, we want to ask you a couple of questions. All right. And this is going to be an interactive session. You're going to have opportunities to speak directly to our members of Congress and to ask your questions directly of them. But we want to ask you a couple of questions first. So we're going to pull up some poll questions and we ask that you respond to those, and then we'll tell you what the results were. All right. So here comes the poll questions right now. You can put any questions or any concerns you have into the chat, and we'll be sure that your concerns and questions are responded to as well. But for right now, we'll pull up those poll questions and ask that you will please just respond to the questions by following the prompts. Thank you. All right, so we will give you the response to those questions in just a few moments. But before we do that, it is indeed my pleasure to introduce our members of Congress who are here today, who represent the state of Michigan. I want to first of all send the sincerest apologies from Representative Scholten. She was not able to join us. She sent her regrets. Her flight was canceled, and it was rebooked for the exact same time that this program was to air. So she is on a flight now back to DC. She thought that her earlier flight she would have been in DC and able to join us, but she was not able to do so. But we still have some very distinguished panelists with us today, members of Congress who are eager to share with you information and also to hear from you. First, I'd like to introduce to you someone that probably needs no introduction. If you've been around Michigan at all, then you certainly know Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. Congresswoman Dingell is a member of the sixth congressional district here in the state of Michigan, and has been just a real warrior in many of the AARP issues, and advocating for older adults, advocating for anything that impacts our communities, and particularly women and older adults as well. So Congresswoman Dingell, we're so happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Paul. It's great to be with everybody.
And just listening to your voice, people know that you've got a little throat thing or something going on. But to me, it's a sign of what the word that I use for you, a warrior. You are such a warrior. Regardless of what comes, if you say you're going to do something, you get it done. And so we really appreciate you not being at 100%, or usually you fly at 200%, but not being at your usual 200%, but still being with us today. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Paul. It's good to be with you. And I don't know when we're going to make introductory comments. We're going to bring Rashida in first, and I've just been yelling at too many people. That's all.
All right. Well, and you've just given another introduction. A lot of people know who our other member of Congress is. Rashida Tlaib, who needs no introduction here in the state of Michigan, is also joining us today. I don't know if she was coming on as I was coming on. Yep, there she is. And, this is not her first rodeo. This is not either of their first rodeos. We've done this before, and we just want you to continue to put your comments and your questions into the chat. This is a dialogue. And I can tell you from experience that Congresswoman Tlaib will respond to those in the chat. She'll respond to anything that you plug in there. So
I was about to tell everybody in the chat that Congresswoman Dingell actually has asthma. She got it in her adult age because of air quality getting so much more, just worse and worse, and especially in Wayne County. But yeah, it's something important to talk about as we talk about as she gracefully becomes one of more powerhouse seasoned citizen among us here in Michigan. But I always worry about her asthma when I hear that cough. Not from yelling at people, which she still does, but it's from
my dear colleague's son just got asthma, and he's like 10 years old, just diagnosed with asthma. Air quality is another issue, and it's an issue that we know a lot of young people are very, very concerned about, as older adults should be as well. But before we get into your comments, let's just take a quick look at the poll that's going to help outline some of our conversation for today. If we have those poll results, Karina, can you pull those up for us, please? If they're not available, then just send me something in the chat. You all know how technology is, how I am with technology. So if it's not available, we can just move right on. Oh, there we go. All right. So there were 4. Whoops, that's not the right one. My sisters and friends, the first question that was asked was, okay. As we enter into the 2014 election, 2024, not 2014, don't take us back, for heaven's sakes, 2024 election year, which of the following issues is most important to you? Protecting Social Security, 71% said protecting Social Security, and then retirement security and the high cost of prescription drugs for that one. Not consistent necessarily with what we heard before. Usually the support for caregivers just comes in up. It's still populating. So maybe I was a little bit earlier on that, but comes in somewhere on there. But yeah, great. Thank you. The next question. Which of the following do you feel would be the most helpful to family members who are caring for an aging parent, spouse, or other loved one? And then you can see again right here, all of the above. That's where the caregiving piece comes in. Okay, that makes sense. All of the above are most important. They want help navigating the long-term care system. They want help and some kind of credit for family caregivers. And I know we've spoken to both of you before, and the cost for loved ones taking care of their own family members, just a little bit of help there. Paid family leave, so you can take them to the doctor's office or take them wherever they need to go and be there for them as needed. So that support, that family leave. So all of the above are important there, 80%. And then the third question, this is, you guys are going to be able, I say guys, sorry, you remember, you're members of Congress, guys and gals, you're going to be able to really respond to this because I know we've had these conversations before. Social Security be cut by 20%, and how will that impact people? That's the greatest concern, is being able to maintain the quality of life that they currently have. No surprise there. And also all the other areas as well, inability for seniors to afford medications, which continues to be an issue, even though we are thrilled with the lower prescription drug prices and Medicare being able to negotiate those prices. We are thrilled with those results. So thank you for that. All right, I think is there one more? That's it. All right, so with that, let's have some introductory remarks. I don't know which one wants to go first. Congresswoman Dingell, you are the most senior, so we will defer to you if you'd like to go first, or if you'd like to, whatever you'd like to do.
Well, Rashida and I are a team. We work together. So
she is the upcoming, with the announcement of Kildee's retirement. She'll be our dean of our delegation. So Dean Dingell can go first.
I don't know. I don't want to be that old. But anyway, thanks for Paula. Both Rashida and I are really glad to be here and talk to people about these issues because they really matter to us. Our seniors matter. And it's not only, seniors I call us seasoned, not the word seniors. And there are a lot of people that fall under it. I am one of the co-chairs of the Democrats' Task Force on Aging and Families. But I've spent a lot of time on this because I think too many people don't understand the issues until you're suddenly dealing with them. I was married to the greatest man in the entire world, and I loved him to death. And we were luckier than 99 9/10 of the people in this country. And let me start there. And after he retired, he was, the night that he retired, he went in the hospital the next day, and the doctors told me he may have finished his life's work and might die that weekend. He did not. He went on to live for several more years in a very functioning, participating, contributory way. But that's when I learned how broken the long-term care system was. I'd be fighting with Medicare, private insurance, and I'd take my head in. I just want to pound it against the wall because you couldn't make the system work. I punched buttons all day long and got everybody blaming everything else. And you learn that 90 days is this magic period, and when it's done, it's over. And since, as I've dug in and I've talked to a lot of people want to stay in there. When you talk about caregiving, I hear the issues that people are talking about here, and we should get into those more. But
Mhm.
Social Security is, there used to be a strong three-legged stool that people could rely on. Pensions are not secure and safe anymore. Retirement income is, if investments has become a problem. Social Security is what too many people rely on. Not too many. It's what so many people rely on in this country, and they're worried about the solvency of the program and what's going to happen. And I think it's the most important job we have, is to make sure that people who put into the system, believed in the system, and trusted it to be there need to know that it will be there. And that's our job, to protect it. And I'm, quite frankly, very proud of the fact that my father-in-law was one of the authors of Social Security. So I think, Rashida and I will tell you, that's one of the things our caucus is absolutely focused on protecting. And Republicans are playing a lot of games and trying to set up different things that don't appear to be what they are, trying to cut Social Security. So we're very focused on that. Caregiving is also, people want to stay in their own home, in their
Yes.
own community, of their own choice, if they can. And I'm working with Bob Casey. Rashida's been a partner in trying and being there and being supportive so that people can, for home and community-based care. And it's actually less expensive than institutional, living in an institution. How do people live with dignity and respect and stay participating and do whatever they want to do to whenever they want to do it, is something that, I just want to make sure that seniors can live with dignity, security, and independence. So, and another fact about women, since we are talking about women here, is that 85% of the home care workers are women, and a lot of them are over 65. And it falls upon family caregivers a lot to provide the caregiving. And I'm worried about scams and a lot of other stuff, but I think I should turn it over to Rashida. She'll make some comments and we'll answer questions.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Congresswoman Dingell. And, we love you dearly. You're just the hardest working woman that I know. I think you just,
I don't know how she does it. I look and I'm like, she goes to all the farmers market because that's her way of connecting with constituents, and is just every corner of her district. I'm so happy to be with my AARP family, who helped me actually pass one of the first bills ever in the state house. Was a recent anticipation loan, where so many of our seniors were coming in and get their taxes done, even though they didn't need to, were pushed to do loans, which were high interest rates, versus waiting 10 days or so to get it directly from the IRS. And again, these are tax centers and businesses that were popping up all over every corner of our neighborhoods, that really took a lot of money out of the pockets of our seniors. And so we really pushed hard to get a lot of disclosures and education out there. And so I appreciate all of you for your help and support on that. As the founder of the Congressional Mamas Caucus, I tell you, paid leave and talk about care economy, that's kind of the word that we use, is something at the forefront. Much of the reason that we put the Congressional Mamas Caucus, that the Congresswoman Dingell is part of as well, is that, there's so much discussion about moms and even women, but without women at the table, without mothers at the table, to be honest. And so we were frustrated with that. And we have been really leading effort to talk about the care economy, and talk about the importance of how we are able to retire with human dignity. As you know, Paula, so many of our women around our state take time off of work to take care of their loved ones, and that disruption in care they always lean primarily on childcare, not knowing, it always lands on us as women to take care of our seasoned families. And so, it's really important to know that as we introduce these bills, which are not controversial, there doesn't seem to be the urgency that with our members. With your members want to see the urgency of moving much more quicker on understanding that we need to protect Social Security, but also create the structures and the policies and invest and that care economy that allows people to retire with human dignity. And so we're going to be laser focused on that. We have a number of briefings. We love AARP to continue to be a partner to tell those stories of how incredibly difficult it is. Many of my colleagues think, pressing the button for Social Security payments is enough. They need to understand it's one of the things that is in the bucket, but we also need to make sure that we're talking about high cost of housing. It's one of the biggest issues I'm hearing from my seniors who want to stay at their home, but they need home repair dollars. They need to make sure their bathroom is accessible to them as they, again, sometimes the bathrooms are built in a way that they don't have access to their own bathrooms. And so these are the things that we're really heavily working on and trying to tell the stories of many of our residents who say it's great that you support Social Security, and it's great that you support changes that protect us to have access to healthcare, but know the day-to-day life of many of our seasoned citizens is wrapped around having a physical person there to help support them, making sure that their home is livable, and so much more.
Thank you for that. Thank you both for those opening comments. It's reassuring to hear your voice, because it echoes the voice of your constituents, the members, the people that we talk to all the time. The issues are the issues. And so this is an opportunity for those of you who are participating on this session to ask questions and to dig a little bit deeper into some of these issues. AARP, as you all know, is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. We don't have a PAC. Every female member of Michigan's Congress from Michigan was invited to participate, all right, in this session today. So we're thankful that this worked with the 2-year calendars. We know that we had to change this a time or two because of some new speaker, new schedule.
We don't have control.
Holly, you're so nice. They couldn't elect a speaker. Just say it. It's okay. It took a while.
Well, we're here today. We're here today, and looking forward to having the conversations with you. And you talked about the 50 and older. You all both probably know this statistic, but for our audience, in the last election, out of all the votes cast, 60%, a little over 60% of all votes cast were cast by those who are 50 and older. So when we talk about older adults and their voices, they have a powerful voice. Those listening, you have a very powerful voice. And the issues that are of concern to you, we need to speak with one voice and raise those issues to make certain that they get done now, as Congresswoman Tlaib said, not later on, but kind of make certain that we focus on those issues right now. We do have a couple of questions in the chat right now. One is from Ruth, and Ruth wants to know, why is there a cap on Social Security? Just as people begin to earn enough to afford it, they no longer can contribute. So why is there a cap on Social Security? Who wants to take that one?
I think Rashida and I both agree we should take it off, which would put more money into the system and help make it solvent. So it is my, I don't want to cast dispersions on anybody. I'm trying to be positive, but Republicans have been opposed to this. And I do believe, I wish we need to make a renewed effort to take a look at that.
Yeah, and just more urgency. I mean, look, the cost of living is tremendous. I can't express to you all enough in Michigan specifically. But even my residents who saw a cost of living adjustment on their payments also saw their rent go up. So I mean, it's just like, even if they get paid more, they seem to have to pay out of pocket even more when they do get those cost of living adjustments alone. So I, absolutely want to do that. I think, again, there needs to be more of an urgency of saying this is our top issue. And when you did the poll, you saw that it was the number one issue was around Social Security and expanding it. And even though we introduced the same bill from my first session, I've been there almost 6 years, and Congresswoman Dingell and I are co-sponsors of the Social Security Expansion Act that literally talks about the cap, talks about expansion, talks a lot about having it apply in a way that is not hurtful. What I mean by that is, as folks' payment go up, all of a sudden, if they're living in a place that it's based on income, their rent goes up, and then everything else goes up. So there's no point of doing this. If we're trying to improve their lives, then we have to make sure that, again, it's when we do increase those payments, that it doesn't also increase their cost of living.
Yeah, excellent point. Absolutely. And just to stay there, and I know Ruth had a follow-up question as well, and we'll get to that in just a moment, Ruth. Thank you. But how do you see fixing Social Security? You talked about taking the cap off. Any other ways that you see fixing it? And I say fixing, meaning making certain that it will be there at 100% for those who have earned it.
mean, there's a number, starters. We can build on drug price reforms that are included in the RA for Medicare, because Medicare is paying for drugs, and we need to build on it. It was, I'll be very candid. Well, Rashida's too.
That's
So
a
you've got
surprise.
you have the two most candid members here.
Yes, we do. And that
But
scares me a lot of times.
We've capped insulin, and we're going to negotiate drug prices for 10. Well, it starts at 5 and goes to 10. I think we should be going far faster and negotiating the drugs doing. It happens in other countries. Why can we go across the bridge to Canada and get drugs so much more cheaper over there than we can in the United States? But if we were allowed to negotiate drug prices for Medicare, that would be a very significant way to reduce costs. But we got to explore all solutions to address this critical issue.
Thank you. Congresswoman Tlaib, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes. So one of the things that I explained about cost of living adjustment. So when we see the costs go up, a lot of my seniors, especially in the 12th congressional district, are in housing that's based on their income, and they see as it increases, even if it's just a small amount, all of a sudden their rent goes up. That's something, again, we need to look at. We need to look at how things are taxed. I also know this, and Congresswoman Dingell and I spoke to a number of retirement groups that I feel like is connected to what is happening with this question, is interconnected to this question, is that when we have a couple and, one is retiring and certain retirement benefits and so forth, and how that is calculated towards what they get paid out. So there's some, almost, to me, I don't know, not a punishment, I guess, or just there's an impact on married couples that are getting, there directly seems to be almost like, well, you're going to get less because there's two of you, when the cost of healthcare is actually double. The cost of living is double. And so there's a lot of things like that. But I know my team is sending you all things to put on the public chat, especially around Congresswoman Dingell's and I work on the Social Security Expansion Act. And specifically, I would love to, in the future, talk about what's in that act and talk about going through it with everybody, because I think we want to hear, what is missing. But I know, again, when I hear from my constituents and my residents, it is the fact that how it's applied. And for all the questions I see coming in about how do we do to protect it, you all are doing it. When there was even just a whisper, you remember this? It was just a whisper of they might actually go and cut Social Security. Your drumbeat was so loud. We were like about to go up to the mic, and AARP and so many of our other organizations were just like, you all were incredible, because all of a sudden the people that were saying it were changing their tune and saying, well, that's not what I really meant. And so thank you for that. That was very important. So continue to be advocacy. Paula, growing up in Detroit, I've learned that sometimes transformative change and things that we need to see happen within our government doesn't happen with who's in the White House or who's in Congress. It happens when the communities outside of Congress make us do it. And so continue to make us protect Social Security. You have people on this call. Debbie and I are hands-on, like they say it and we go like right after them. Not only that, we pull the numbers of people in their district that benefit from Social Security to tell them it's your backyard. This is who you would impact and hurt if you don't do this. And I'll tell you, all of us know this. This is a promise. This was a promise that our country said, look, work hard, anything. But if when this happens, we're going to make sure that you retire with human dignity. And that is a promise that we can't go back on. So just know that, again, we're going to continue doing, but I need you all to continue to also do the drumbeat to make sure, get your hands off of it. Do not touch it. Don't even think about it. And then we'll make sure that we continue to try to expand, do the reforms that are necessary, and make sure that it's funded.
Thank you for that. Go ahead.
Build on that. They have different ways of coming after it. If you remember that at the State of the Union last year, Joe Biden was masterful in getting them to agree no cuts to Social Security. But they've been coming at it in different ways. So when they talk about setting up a budget commission, that's their way of trying to backdoor to get in to cut Social Security. So we really have to pay attention to what they're doing and how they're doing it. And as we look at this issue too, I saw one of the questions was, what about hearing, dental, and feet? What the very first bill I introduced when I got to Congress was to add hearing to Social Security. The way the question was written, it was like it had been added. None of those have been added, and that's. I mean, can you imagine what it's like to be a senior who can't afford a hearing aid and not be able to listen? And we know the studies are there now. We've helped to fund those studies out of Johns Hopkins, that if you can't hear, it contributes to I mean, Alzheimer's and early dementia. We need to make sure that people can connect. And now I've become a bit of a nut about. I mean, I should have done dental at the same time, but people don't understand that the mouth is the gateway to health for your whole body. And dental care is just out of control, absolutely out of control. I had a dentist who told me that they told their patients that they needed to put aside $20,000 to $30,000 to be able to take care of dental once they retired. And then you get a dental problem. That dental problem can cost you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in one incident. And yet, I mean, Rashida knows this. I had an implant that got infected. And if I had continued to ignore it, which I'm good at doing, doctor told me I would have died. He said, most people who get to where you are, we can't. We have got to get these things included in there. They're part of critical health care and people living in dignity. So take over.
And Paula, I mean, Congresswoman Dingell and I know, because we meet with the different groups that do advocacy around dialysis and kidney and so forth. And one of the things that my colleagues don't even realize is many of our residents can't even get on the transplant list unless they have dental coverage. I mean, these are things that I think the American people are not aware of and don't understand how integral part dental care is, but vision. But, you know, I wanted to mention, I mean, you know, I'm a co-sponsor, but the co-lead on Medicare for All is Debbie Dingell. And that's something I know we haven't taken a strong stance on AARP, but this is something to talk about because we've used it as an organizing tool to educate people about the fact that, no, it doesn't cover vision. It doesn't cover dental. People are still shocked when I tell them that. They think if folks get, oh, if you're on Social Security, you're done. You have it made, and they don't realize, no, the health coverage, everything, it's just not enough. People are living almost paycheck to paycheck, but it's like work, because it's not like they can go add more hours, right? It's not like they can go, I mean, if they go get a job that's impacted. So they're trapped into what our, you know, country decides what the promise looks like for many people that depend on it.
A lot of people, like in the auto industry from where we come from, had dental insurance, but the companies have dropped it. They dropped dental insurance like a hot potato. A lot of the retirees don't even have health care insurance after if you're a union employee, you still have it. If you're a salaried employee, it's gone. So I mean, this is a real critical issue. It's an
issue that's really critical, as you saw in the poll, to our older adults as well. And in Michigan alone, we've got almost 1.3 million members. In Michigan, over 300 active volunteers. And anytime we ask them, this is an issue that, you know, protect what I've already earned. So let's get to some of these other questions. We got lots of questions in the chat. Linda wants to know. She said, I was told if you use a cane, you can get long-term care insurance. Is that true? I'm not sure. That might be a question.
You know, when I saw that question come through, I asked my team to look into it. Can I get back to you all on that? Sure. And maybe if the team can get me her contact information, I'll be more than happy to follow up.
I'm going to tell you all, though, that long-term insurance has really become a crisis in this country. Most people can't afford it. You have to really, really be careful. The premiums are high. It doesn't cover a lot, and it's not the answer to long-term care. I mean, what we really need to be doing is to reforming the system. But I would urge all of you to be very, very, very careful as you look at long-term healthcare. And quite frankly, most people don't think about it till you're in your 50s and 60s, and it's so unaffordable, and it doesn't cover what you think it covers.
And even if they say they don't cover it, fight it, because I'll tell you, I've seen this with a lot of insurance companies. They'll say no right off the bat. always, when you put a claim in, no, right off the bat, push back against that and say, I don't understand how this is not covered and so forth. But again, Paula, I would love to follow up and make sure that she's, getting the answer that she needs.
Absolutely appreciate that. Thank
You're
you.
going to do that? Okay.
All right, got it. Thank you.
I'll
We
copy you, Debbie.
it's a response. Thank you. Wendy wants to know, there's disinformation in politics is rampant. People want to make intelligent decisions, informed decisions when they go to vote. And Wendy's asking, what are some solutions to all this misinformation that's out there?
Great question.
I mean, you got to
impacted by
get
this,
informed. I don't think you can believe anything. I mean, this is something that deeply, deeply, deeply concerns me, because I don't think you can believe a lot of what you read here. And you got to educate yourself. But then how do you educate yourself? And you've got to find reliable sources of information. You go, Rashida.
Yeah, so this is really important. And, as somebody that has seen the direct impact, has actually led to death threats of myself and really strong. I mean, at one point, we had 1,300 voicemails from all around the country. Just know that not all the so-called, if it has news network, is actually a news network. And I'm not going to mention a particular so-called network. It is important and extremely important that if you're seeing certain things, call your member, say, is this true? Engage. I mean, this is a great way of really developing this kind of relationship with even the staff and everybody and saying, hey, it's Miss Wendy. I just saw this about Debbie Dingell, or I just saw, is this true that President Biden is trying to take away gas stoves? It's just so the misinformation out there is you all know, very intentional, but it's been weaponized in a way, unfortunately, is impacting our democracy. It's impacting your access to good, reliable, credible information. And that's incredibly unfortunate. I know Congresswoman Dingell and I are also very concerned about the role of AI coming up in the relay of information. The fact that we are continuing to, push some of the social media platforms who, are all about, obviously not, we've talked to them about white supremacy, about, companies and others pushing certain narratives out there. But we, as in Congress, I have to admit, have not done enough, in a way to protect all of you from this misinformation. And really, I feel like targeting that can, again, impact our democracy. But we can do more. We can ask them to do more. And I know, again, with AI right now being discussed in the Senate as well in the House, artificial intelligence and what that's capable of from video creations and everything is incredibly scary. And I know that folks that are leading the AI movement, the president is like begging us, members of Congress, regulate us, oversee us. They're not saying everything, but they're saying, help us, because we never know which country or what is going, who could get their hands on this and impact, again, the information that's flowing through the American people to the American people.
Thank you for that. And one of the things that we learned during the Flint water crisis, and we were doing a lot of surveying and polling, and since then, is that Michigan AARP is just a really trusted resource for people. Being nonpartisan, a nonprofit, the information we try to just share just information only, not all the other extra falsehoods that go along with that. So you can always check on our website and look for information there, or give us a call too, and can kind of direct people in the right place. So thank you for that question, Wendy. And we hope that we continue to be a trusted resource for people, particularly as we enter into the 2024 election, where to vote, how to vote. All those kinds of things are so important to our members, because our members vote and they want to be able to vote safely, and they want to be able to vote in a way that's convenient for them as well. So we're appreciative of the fact that Michigan will allow early voting next year, and people can get out to the polls early and safely as well. In some other states, that's not necessarily the case. The next question we have here is from Madeline. What's the best way?
But as you tell people that, Paula, they need to, clerks have mailed something to their homes about early voting and having absentee ballots sent to them. Don't ignore it. Please, pay attention to it, fill it out. It's something that's really important for you to do. So you are making it easy to participate in our democratic process, and it matters. It
Right.
really matters.
And I, just on a personal note, as a woman of color, and how hard it has been for us to be able to have a right to vote, for all the bloodshed and everything else for people of any denomination, background, ethnicity, to not get out and vote is a disservice, really, to
No,
our
Black
country.
folks put their lives, their bodies on the line for that
Exactly.
right.
So people, make sure you vote, regardless of who you are, where you are, or how you vote. Just get out and vote. Let your voice be heard. And so another voice that we want to hear from today is one from Madeline, who wants to know the best way to show our support for the Social Security repair bill. Great question. What do we do? How do we show support for the Social Security repair bill?
I mean,
I think you may have answered that to some degree in terms of just,
Yeah, no, I mean, please, you got to get it on top of their agenda. I get every week, Debbie and I both, actually, I told her, do you do this? Every week we get like a spreadsheet of what our residents emailed us, called us about. And it's interesting, like one week will be a lot about animal rights, and I'll find out, oh, this happened in my district. That's why everybody's like, do something about, but I think it's really important to make sure that your member is on point, that they know this is a top priority issue for you. And this is the way we continue to engage and get folks moving with the urgency that is needed. But again, like, come to my coffee hours, like, Congresswoman Tlaib, what are you doing to support? You know what I mean? This is what I think really does make a difference, because as my team will tell you, I'll say, you remember Miss Madeline that came and asked me about this bill? Like, where are we on that? Can we ask the chair of the committee if they're going to even have a committee hearing on it? Like, what's going on? Ask the sponsor. It makes us, Debbie and I walk around the floor and figure out, hey, one of my constituents asked me about this. Where's the status? What's going on with it?
But I also would say to all of you, organize. I mean, I was about to start singing, start spreading the word, but that's what you have to do. You need to get, like, almost every community's got a senior group of some, senior center. Invite members of Congress right now are getting a little shy about doing town halls, because some are, if they're just going in and meeting with seniors, you demand they come in there, have a meeting of your seniors, tell your member you want to meet with them, and when they can't pin it down, send them a whole bunch of dates. We'll get Paula, so it's not us doing it, the schedule of the congressional recess, and you can say, hey, you're on recess, what date can you come in? So does Rashida. We go to our senior halls and go to our senior meetings. They meet regularly. Get them in, get them talking about it, tell them why it matters, and then talk about it at other places when it matters. Put it on agendas of groups you're part of. Put it on your church group's agenda, or the whatever you're involved in the community. Make sure it's part of the discussion. Get your Rotary clubs, get the chambers to bring it up, talk about it.
And for people who don't feel like they have the talking points, or they don't know how, come and join AARP. It's what we do. It's what our volunteers do. We go into communities. We give you the talking points. We give you tips. We give you information to help you elevate your own voice and the voice of those around you in the community on these issues, such as Social Security, caregiving, financial security. So that's another way, because a lot of times people are a little shy. They don't want to get out. But this is important. This is important. It impacts your entire life and the life of your family and your community and the next generation. So thank you for that question. That's an excellent question. Also, a question here from Susan, who wants to know, people need to be aware. Yeah, they're aware. I'm sorry, I thought I missed one. Aware that their IRAs are pre-tax. When you try to live on them, you must pay taxes. The more you withdraw income the higher your taxes. I don't know what the question is necessarily, unless she's just asking, what can you do about that, or is that an issue? It has been a curse.
Well, the IRA has traditionally been a way for you to invest in a retirement account with a cap, but without those dollars being taxed. But when you do withdraw them, as you presumably are retired, your income is less, and you would presumably be paying less tax on it. But that people do need to know that an early withdrawal of money from an IRA can have significant penalty. That's educating yourself financially. And I want to say to everybody, too many people, and quite frankly, too many women, don't take the time to educate themselves. You need to look at your finances. You need to understand everything. And we'll all be there to try to help you and to understand what all the tools are out there. But, you know, women traditionally have left it to somebody else, or they think it doesn't. Rashida and I are heads of households, but a lot of women haven't. And I would say
I still get confused.
well, I yell at her too. But we got to take the time to educate ourselves to really understand all of these things, because in the end, it's us. It's only us that we got to depend on. Financial literacy matters.
Yeah, and Miss Susan, I mean, I'll work with AARP if they have anything I can include in my newsletters to educate folks about it. But it is always a shock because, you know, you're not thinking about it until it's time. And then you're like, whoa, I didn't know all of these things. But, you know, this is where, you know, really encouraging people to figure that all out. I mean, I even talked to folks that are buying a house for the first time. They don't know about the mortgage insurance layered on top of it, all of the other things that come with it. But this is where we can partner with AARP to educate, you know, women who may not be familiar. I mean, I hate that the terminology that is consistently used seems so disconnected with how we talk. So that's part of it as well.
Thank you for that. You know, we are talking about one of our major buckets, 3 buckets is financial security, and this falls right into that bucket as well. And in Michigan here, we are really working hard to get a work and save or financial retirement bill passed to teach people a little bit more about, not teach, but to help them be able to save earlier on and, you know, to save early. And if you're an employer, it's amazing how many employers don't offer any type of, because it's cumbersome for them. So if we can get the state to, and there's a tremendous amount of support. So stay tuned for those of you who are listening. But if you can start saving when you're 20, 30, or 40 and have your, you know, just take 2%, 3% out of your check and have it going into a place that you know is going to be safe and secure, it's amazing what that extra $1,000 a year or whatever it might be at the point in time that you get ready to retire will do. And that might be a new refrigerator or a new air conditioner, whatever you might need. So work and save is something. We'll be sending you some information on that, even though it's a state issue. We're going to be sending information that you can.
No, but we would love it, both of us, for a newsletter.
For your newsletters, exactly. Thank you for that. All right, let's see. I just like talking to you. I got to look at the questions here. Okay, Yvonne. I think we're at to Yvonne, or did I skip one? I think Yvonne. Okay. Well, Catherine asked about Social Security expansion, and I think you may have answered that one. But Yvonne is asking, why even with a Medicare Advantage plan do I still have so much out-of-pocket costs?
But I was looking at the question. Oh, even the plan, we tried to warn people about Medicare Advantage. It's we agree. Medicare Advantage is a bit of a scam. Am I supposed to say that, Rashida?
I don't know if you're supposed to say it exactly like that, because we just had a briefing. By the way, we just had a briefing about it in the Progressive Caucus, which is the Congressional Progressive. These different caucuses are different, like, you know, kind of like clubs, I would say, trying to explain to my residents what they are. And we just had a whole briefing. It's one of the largest caucuses or clubs. And we just had a briefing specifically about Advantage plans.
And
it's now with the Medicare enrollment plan for this year was finished last week on the 7th. But can we work with you? I don't know. You may have a Medicare Advantage plan for all I know, so I may be getting in real trouble. But can we work with you to help educate people financially on all of these issues during the next year, so they know to ask the questions, to take advantage of what's going on? And I would really, and I know Rashida would too, like to work with you on financial literacy of all.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if it's not Advantage plan today, it's going to be another scheme, and you know, whatever you want to call it. But know this: the for-profit part of these healthcare coverages and support is going to be the biggest issue until we can get rid of the for-profit schemes and entity and you all being able to access healthcare. And that's why Medicare for All is so important. I just want to emphasize to all of you, because what happens with us as a federal government is that we decide to do kind of quasi-governmental or extension of, you know, working in the private sector. And then even they come up and like, we don't go back and say, yo, you're not doing it right. This is even more expensive for our folks. not a lot of oversight. In that briefing, so you know, Paula, it was talked about the fact that the oversight wasn't there and that needed to be some guardrails, needed to be some pushback and so forth. I mean, the amount of money they're spending just on marketing and on, getting the word and getting as many people enrolled, you would think that with that many folks as part of the plan that they would reduce costs, but no, it just continues to go up because they're it's like they're running it on a profit margin, not on whether or not it's quality. That's my broad opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. We have done programs on Medicare. We've had people on our television show talking about Medicare. It's complicated. It really is it's very confusing for folks. We work very closely with the AAA, the Area Agency on Aging, because they have people who answer questions. And then there's also information on our website about Medicare, Yvonne. So please take a look at that, and we're happy to work with both of you to just kind of inform people and keep them, make sure they have correct information when they make their decision. All right, Lawanda. Did I skip one? No, Lawanda has a question here. What can be done about senior homeowners and high property taxes? And, housing is something that is continuing to resonate. It's percolating more and more and more throughout the state. I know not just in urban areas, but good question. Who wants to take Lawanda's question?
I'm going to let Rashida start.
So I'm part of a number of the coalitions, including the Rent is Too Damn High coalition, as well as, they're called that, as well as a movement right now about overseeing assessment. So I sit on Financial Services Committee, and we just met with Secretary Fudge, and I know that they had created there has been some conversations and concerns about, we had a really good call with her team members about how assessments are done on properties, and that we saw alone just in Detroit, and I'm sure in other communities, that it led to overassessment in the processes of what we put in place. And so we know that, I'm telling you, Debbie, it's the asthma. You is your inhaler by you?
I know, I'll get it. I know she's mom.
Go get it. Go get it while I'm talking. I'm serious. You probably need I'm serious. So one of the things that we've been trying to do is on a national scale is the Property Tax Foreclosure Coalition that we have here, led by Professor Bernadette and others, is looking at what we can do nationwide and trying to prevent continued overassessment, especially in communities like mine, who have seen again over and over an overassessment, and then they find out later it was overassessment, but have no actual relief to address being charged a lot more on their property taxes. Senior homeowners specifically, we saw the direct impact because many of the folks that ended up in foreclosure or impacted was folks that had already paid off their home but only had taxes left, and during the last recession just saw their property taxes increase, and it impacted them in a way that led to one of the worst foreclosure crises in the country was in Wayne County. So we have an initiative that we work on. We have a housing justice work group. If there's anything specific that we're working on, right now, I'm primarily working on that would impact a lot of women and seniors is the low dollar mortgage, small dollar mortgages, because I want to increase access to home ownership. And right now, majority of our homes in my district are less than $100,000, and traditional banks are not loaning. The other is working with Secretary Fudge, who's sympathetic with us about assessments, appraisals. One of the things I spoke to her about is even with seniors that are in some of the housing that they oversee, that they feel like right now there is no real pathway to address issues or challenges that they have in the building that they live in or in the housing overseeing. Like, how can we mainstream or work with certain housing commissions that are responsible in those conditions, and what can they do to kind of hold them accountable? But we have been really, really passionate from day one on the overassessment, and it's going to take us actually taking on some of our local folks that could put things in place. Like, we think they fixed it and they haven't. I'm a person that I literally got something in the mail that said I owed like $3,000 over. It was something crazy. And because I'm a member of Congress, I call the assessor's office as a regular person. And I said, hey, I got this. And they realized who I was. And they're like, oh my God, we're really sorry that was an accident. I said to them, that's fine, but how many others did you send out? You know, so don't always assume what you get in the mail comes from the assessors in the city of Detroit, city of Inkster. Don't make any assumptions that it's correct. Fight those assessments. There is no, I can tell you right now from a number of families that I know continue to fight, they got huge reduction in their property taxes. And I hate that you have to go through a process of appealing it, of fighting it, but that can help us and many of us who advocate to prove our point that you are over assessing property. So anything we can do, if you have that issue in my district, call us, because we have free pro bono attorneys that are working on over assessments or people that feel like they're being overcharged.
Thank you for that. And as you've mentioned so many times and others as well, just even finding affordable housing for older adults is becoming more and more of an issue. And I want to just do a little plug here. In the month of March, Women's History Month, every Thursday at 11 a.m., AARP is going to be offering a series. One's going to be on financial, and it's for My Sisters. It's a continuation of this My Sisters, MI Sisters dialogue or conversation. Every Thursday, 11 a.m. One's going to be on financial security, everything that you need to know, like we're talking about wills, estates, trusts, how to save, what women need to know in a divorce. The one's going to be on caregiving for the caregivers or caring for the caregivers, where they can get help, where they can get respite care, where they can get additional resources. The one's actually going to be on financial security, what we're talking about as well, in terms of there's so many tax credits that people don't know about, how to get those tax credits, where to get them. So for those of you who are listening, just go to our website. You'll see our website on the screen. But every Thursday in March, 11 o'clock for Women's History Month, we're going to be talking in more depth about these issues with some of the experts in these areas. So please, and I forgot the one that I don't know how I forgot this. We're going to be doing one on sex at 50 plus. Go AARP. So, how does medication and how do the prescription drugs that you take and things affect your libido and your energy, and how do you date online safely, and how do you find it? So, yeah. So you make this all.
I actually have a comment about this. So because
Okay.
I sit on Financial Services Committee, Paula, you know that the number one biggest scam right now is romance scams.
Romance, exactly.
Romance scams. Yeah, Debbie, he said that people are, they're connecting with people online and all this stuff.
People
and it's a
are
big
lonely,
scam.
but don't let yourself
I know,
get
but romance scam, not mortgage, not,
Nope. No.
Credit
romance
card.
scams, people wanted, and employment scams. That's another one. Those
Yes,
two where people are
that's
applying
right.
for a job online. So, but romance scams impacting older adults because they are lonely, et cetera. So stay tuned. We've got people on who can give you the do's and the don'ts for going online and dating, et cetera. But that's the Women's History Month, the month of March. We're going to stay focused today. In the few minutes that we have left, we've got one more question, and then I'll let you all ask you all to please make some closing comments. Let's see. There's a question here from Madeline who she said it doesn't seem right to have to pay off a mortgage and still lose your home due to property taxes. What about age income exemptions for this? I don't know if that's something that's.
Yeah, so I know, for instance, City of Detroit does have what they call, if you had a fixed income or low income, you can actually get a property tax exemption. I think the City of Detroit's still the only city in Michigan. Again, that can change with initiatives, but what was really bad about that when I was a state rep, it was a big challenge, is that you had to apply every year. Now you only have to apply, I think. And I don't want to give misinformation, but I think it's multiple years now, where if you apply, that it lasts multiple years versus again having to do it every single year. And that was changed through the state legislature. But absolutely right, Madeline. And that's the thing also, is to check. Again, I don't know who's on the call, what cities you live in, to check and see if there are any exemptions or even discounts. I know it's crazy because for a long time, y'all, they were applying. I think they're not doing it, even though I think it's legal. Applying like water bills to your property taxes. I know, like Langford Village, there's a big pushback against. They did some sidewalk repair, and if you couldn't pay the over $1,000 for it, they were going to apply it to your property tax. So know that they also pile on from water bills to to, you know, other things onto your property taxes. So sometimes it's not even just the property taxes, all these other things that are on there. Even like the garbage pickup. You know, I mean, so just really know and understand your property tax when they come in. But again, if anybody has specific, you know, questions or concerns about their property tax and how to understand it, this coalition, again, it's student lawyers, but they work directly with a professor that's very knowledgeable about this issue.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And again, I'm going to ask you to make some closing comments here for people, but I also want, for those of you who are still on and listening to this, please share your personal stories with us. We've been told over and over again by the folks on this call and members of Congress that your personal stories help to resonate. And what we do is we'll video those stories. We'll tag your elected official in your area to let them see what your personal story is. We will use them because all the numbers, all the data are really important, and we use that all the time. But heart to heart, listening to the stories of people that we're trying to help and trying to serve is so important. So if you're interested, there's a number in the chat if you'd like to share your story with us. There's a contact. I think there's going to be a contact in the chat. Please write that down. If nothing else, just give us a call. Go on our website and give us a call. But we'd like to capture your story. So with that, we've got about a minute left. Any closing remarks?
I just want to thank AARP for doing this. I want to thank my sister Rashida for doing this we do this stuff together. We care deeply, but you got to be part of the voices. We need you out there talking. We need you advocating. We got to educate people about all these issues. And when we stick together, you can bring about change.
Yeah. No, thank you, Paula, for having this series. And, you know, for everyone listening, know that, you know, treat us as a partner. You know, a lot of people call us to say vote yes or no, but also treat us as a partner in that we can use the power of our letterhead. If your management company that you live in a building is not, you know, getting an elevator fixed, or, you know, you're hitting a wall with your insurance company, or, you know what, the Advantage plan is just not working. Who can I, you know, me connecting you to the area agency and agency folks, sometimes my office or myself reaching out can really help improve your lives today. So getting you through everyday challenges and issues is incredibly important. To me, it goes hand in hand with legislative change. So please always reach out to us. This is how we learn what's broken. And this is how we, again, stay engaged.
And this is also how we partner and collaborate together to elevate the voices of those who perhaps voices have not been heard in the past. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Paula.
Dingell, take care of yourself, please. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy holidays, everybody. Take care.